My brothers, are you tired of arguing with women? This is something that has plagued me my entire life, and have I got a solution for you? I've consulted with loads and loads of guys far greater than me with far greater wealth and influence that do the exact same thing that I've always done, which is trying to use logic and reason with an emotional creature, a woman. Women will not let logic or reason get in the way of their emotional hissy fit. So when you lose, it's embarrassing because they beat you with emotion. When you win, you still lose because they don't want your logic and reason to get in the way of how they feel. So this is how I've been dealing with disagreements going forward when it comes to my own relationship and what I recommend other guys do. And this has worked really, really well. So before I tell you what I do to resolve arguments with a woman, let me tell you about everything that I've heard from all the way across the spectrum from I don't argue with women, I send them to their room because they're like children, to sit down and negotiate everything from where the scissors go in the utility drawer. I think all of that is very interesting, but I'm going to tell you what actually works, and it's not arguing with women. That's right, you don't get into the mud and roll around with a pig. It gets happy when you get down in the ground and roll around with it. It wants you to engage. There's this concept of manufactured indignation, which has been around for a long time, where it essentially reasons in the absence of any drama or disagreement, women will actively go out and seek it or manufacture it. I think there's some truth to that. I think women do like, because they've got the feels, they want to feel like somebody cares or something's going on. And sometimes if they think or feel like you're too distant, they might make up a reason or manufacture something to be upset about or to be disagreeable on. So what I do is I just don't engage. Now, if you're dealing with new women, you just simply don't engage. You don't have to make any announcement. If you're already in a relationship, you've been dealing with a chick for a number of years, you're gonna have to make a statement. You're gonna have to make an overt statement about how you're gonna be handling disagreements going forward. And you're just gonna tell them, we're just not gonna argue anymore. They're going to wonder, what's going on? What do you mean we're not going to argue? How are we going to resolve our differences? What do you mean you're not going to take a stand and have a backbone? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about not having a backbone. I'm not talking about not having a stand. What I'm talking about is not engaging emotional people in logic and reason. All you're going to do is you're going to use the yellow card, red card theory that's been used forever in sports, especially like soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you live. There's a warning with a yellow card if a player misbehaves, and with the red card, they're off the pitch. Similar sort of concept. It's yellow card for anything that's going to come up into an argument. So let's say you're sitting there having a nice conversation about something, and she wants to get into a disagreement about something. It doesn't matter what it is, she's just become disagreeable. All you have to do is say yellow card, and then just carry on doing whatever you're doing. If she persists or she tries to lean into it, which I found they generally don't, they just respect the boundary. If you're a strong, virtuous sort of stand-up guy with, that kind of character, they'll usually just leave you alone. But if they do want to push it, I would just leave that room. You're sitting in the kitchen, you go to your office. You're in the garage, you go to the kitchen. It doesn't matter what it happens to be. You disengage, you do not go down to the argument level, you do not get into the mud and roll around with the pig, you just leave the situation and you walk away from it. James Altucher used this amazing analogy on how to deal with haters and disagreement and conflict and that sort of thing. And he argues that these people are essentially like pigs. They want you to get in the mud and roll around with them because they like the dirt. It makes them feel good. It feels to them like you're connected and that you're acknowledging what it is that's special to them. So when I'm saying pig, I'm not being, disparaging. I'm saying, just don't get in the mud with them. Just don't get down to do what it is that they want you to do. You get up and you walk away. If they persist, if you just flash, just say yellow card. Just look at them and say, that's a warning, right? And then you kind of walk away from the situation. If she wants to persist and pursue, she might be a woman of poor character. I'm just being honest. If they taunt you, if they roll their eyes and sigh and make disparaging statements under their breath. There's also the plausible situation where you've gotten involved with a chick that's just really not going to make your life easy, fun, lucrative, any of those things. She's just going to be a burden to you. Again, women that taunt you and are disrespectful and like drama and arguments and fights, at the end of the day, you don't want to invite them in your life anyway. And if you're a top shelf guy, you should have other options that you can consider and just let that one sort of go, But if you're in a long-term relationship, it's a little bit harder to set this boundary. So like I said, just sort of walk away. And then the final step, of course, is the red card, which in football is they're off the soccer pitch. So in our world, guys, it's a soft next, which could be a hard next. All that a soft next is, you cut communication and you remove your presence from her for a period of time. Usually 2 to 4 days is sufficient. Women rely on your attention and validation. They say that attention is the coin of the realm in gal world. So again, you've already warned her with the yellow card. She's persistent. She's leaning into it. Maybe she's taunting you more. Then you just give her the red card and you get her out of the way. If she's at your house, you ask her to leave. If you're at her place, very simple, you leave. If you guys live together, now you're running into some issues that can make it even more problematic because now you have to leave your own house. If you find yourself in a situation where you're doing that on a frequent basis, ask yourself, what am I doing with this woman that's so disagreeable and constantly taunts me and craves drama so much that I have to leave my own house? Got it? So yellow card, red card. Make sure that if you're in a long-term relationship and you've been dealing with her for a while, you make a very clear concise announcement. We're not fighting anymore. What do you mean we're not fighting? We're not fighting. I'm not getting down, and rolling around with this nonsense that keeps coming up over and over again. Give them the yellow card, give them the red card. And hey, guys, let's be honest. It might be time to end that relationship. It might be a waste of your time. It might even be a waste of her time to try to fix something that's unfixable with a genuinely disagreeable woman that's disrespectful and likes to taunt you to sort of get a rise out of you. You'll need to decide that for yourself. But as a final note, before we wrap up, one other thing that you can do is, if you are in a long-term relationship, grab your calendar and just put a yellow color on your calendar or a red color on your calendar. Take a look at your calendar after a month or two, and if you find that there's a lot of red and yellow on there that you think that you shouldn't be tolerating based on who you are and what you bring to the table and what's going on in your life and that little dent in the universe that you're putting out there as a man, then you've got a decision to make. And you've got a relationship to end or a knot to untie or something to do about it. So that's how I would recommend going forward. If you guys are having problems arguing with women or dealing with women with disagreements, that's how I've been doing it. It's worked real well. Again, I've heard everything at all ends of the spectrum, from Jordan Peterson saying, well, negotiate where the scissors go in the utility drawer, to just lock her in her bedroom because women are like children. I think that this is a good happy medium, and it makes it very, very clear what you're all about and what you're willing to tolerate and not willing to tolerate. Leave a comment below. How does this reflect with your own experience? And check out the top pinned comments. There's a bunch of useful stuff to my book, my course, my other podcasts. See you guys later. Peace out.
All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.